Welcome to Disruptive Successor, a show for next generation leaders in family businesses and entrepreneurs who want to disrupt the status quo and take their existing business to a whole new level. We all know that what got us here isn't going to get us there. This show will provide inspiration, advice, and resources to help you create massive impact. This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session. Hi, it's Jonathan Goldhill, and welcome back to another episode of the Disruptive Successor Show. Today on our show, I welcome Ryan Chute, an award-winning creative strategist and driving force behind Wizard of Ads. Ryan specializes in helping small businesses transform into big brands by delivering divergent sales and marketing solutions that accelerate profitable growth without the typical friction. Ryan always had aspirations of an exceptional life, not just good. Sometimes you believe you're doing all the right things, but you have friction hiding in your blind spots. Well-intentioned, but friction nonetheless. And that friction is causing unnecessary resistance, slowing profitable growth. Ryan grew up on a retail pirate ship, a disturbingly transactional world, wheeling, dealing, offers, and gimmicks. His early career in retail and automotive was filled with friction, deception, and general skullduggery. Ryan Chute's expertise as a strategic marketer has turned him into the secret weapon for small businesses aiming to punch above their weight and dominate their market. Ryan, that is a creative marketing soundbite as an intro, right? Huh?
Indeed. It does get one's attention, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Okay, let's just jump right into it. So, well, welcome. You are hailing from Nova Scotia, Canada, Halifax in particular. By the way, there will be no tariff on this show. This show is completely tariff-free. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Fantastic.
Yes. So, and don't hate us, Americans. We're going through a lot right now.
We're good. We're good. We don't actually pay the tariffs here. You guys do. So
right.
It all works out for us.
Okay. All right. Let's start. You grew up on a quote retail pirate ship filled with wheeling, dealing, and gimmicks. How did that shape your philosophy on sales and marketing today?
Well, when you grow up in a friction-filled world full of, bad bosses and toxic workplaces and weaponized fear, shame, and guilt, you build a thick skin and you build a belief structure that is very survival oriented. And I think that's true to a lot of people in the different ways that they grew up and lived their lives. And they're living from this perspective of surviving, not thriving. As much as they want to, they struggle with it, they grapple with it, and their ego is constantly telling them, that they have to protect themselves. And all of that translates into how we show up in the world, both to our customers, but also our wives and our kids and our coworkers. And when we recognize that and take that very first step of just going, that's a truth about me. Mm-hmm. that is shaping the way that I show up in the world. It's the first step in taking the opportunity to show up in a different way, a way of abundance and growth and success, and releasing yourself and freeing yourself from some of that stuff that's been holding you back subconsciously.
So I'm guessing there was a big lesson that you learned from working in high friction sales environments like automotive. and
like all
retail.
kinds. So many
Yeah.
lessons.
All
Yeah,
right. Well,
most of
what
them
was,
painful.
yeah, well, give us one of the better ones, the big one.
Watching um, some of the most despicable behaviors that you could ever imagine a human being associating themselves and being a part of
Hmm.
changes a person. When you see it and you go, "That's not me," and I don't want to be a part of that. Um, is a bit of a life-changing moment, but equally as much you get to see behind the curtain. You get to see the dark underbelly of what people are willing to do for the sake of a buck. And you realize, geez, there's got to be a better way to make money and still sleep at night. Um, and those types of things certainly shape me and had me shift away from the retail and automotive space in a lot of ways. It's just kind of like sometimes you have to walk away from the thing that raised you,
Yeah,
right? Because
sure.
I quite literally grew up in retail, as my family owned a furniture store, and then I moved out and did it myself, and then I moved into the automotive space when the family furniture store was sold, and it's what I knew, but it was also just so hard. It was just such a grind all the time.
Yeah.
And what I came to find out was the grind was there because the friction was there. The rust on the flywheel was grinding me to a halt, was slowing me down,
Mm.
and and not giving me the thing that I needed as a business owner certainly an ambitious um, entrepreneur to the level I wanted to. And then I go and meet Roy Williams at the Wizard Academy in
Hmm.
Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And he goes about just breaking my brain in a 3-day class he calls Magical Worlds of the Wizard of Ads, where we just explore communication from such an absolutely astoundingly different place. And it was the first step in me recognizing that there's a whole universe past the transactional universe of selling and marketing your business, and that translates into all aspects of your life, be it your wife, your kids, your coworkers, and how you recruit people, how you sell people, and how those people receive you and allow you to take more of their money or other resources like their energy or time because you're showing up with something that is more valuable.
So that I take it was a real turning point for you to show up to Texas and take that course. Um,
Massive.
and then from there, you built a reputation as a creative strategist, helping small businesses become big brands. So,
Yeah, well, not 2017 I became a partner, and it's been 7 years
mm,
of learning and investing in myself and in the systems and strategies and being a an apprentice to Roy in so many ways. And getting out there and having clients who we took this journey together with. So yeah, we're on a path together.
good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about what some of those sales and marketing strategies are, because you and I know many business owners struggle to differentiate themselves in crowded markets.
Oh.
And without using this term, but this is a coach's term, they are commoditized.
Hmm.
And you think of the roofer, the plumber, the the meat and potatoes businesses that have been around a long time in mature industries. And it's commoditized. And that could be insurance, that could be banking, that could be wealth management. So
Hmm.
let's now break this apart. What's one of the first steps that you might use with a client to become a dominant brand? Like it's a long road, right? But there has to
Yeah.
be sort of an inkling that this is a possibility. So,
Absolutely. And it's always a possibility. It's to get past the small talk and the superficial.
mhm,
Jonathan, when you think about all the things that you could possibly say about your business, most of those things are all of the things that everyone could always say about their business. They would just replace your name and put their name in there.
exactly. Yep.
And And all of those things, you got to list all of those things out, and then you've got to summarily like put them all like in a like a bundle and
Hmm.
like package them together and then throw it in the garbage, right? Be-
Okay.
because they're worth nothing. They're worth absolutely nothing because everyone can say it, which means you're not actually
Right.
disrupting anything. You're not actually standing out.
Right.
What you have to do is go back. Go back to your childhood, go back to your past experiences, go back to your early career where you saw the injustices of the world and you just didn't like what you saw and that you wanted to do it better and you had this entrepreneurial seizure one day and decided to do it yourself.
Hmm.
Well, some people were built for that, like me, where I've been in an entrepreneurial environment my entire life. And for others, that's a foreign territory. They are astoundingly good technicians at what they do. All the things that we hear Michael Gerber talk about in his book, The E-Myth.
Hmm.
And we have to realize that there's two different jobs being done here, but it all comes back to one thing, and that's intention. What did
Okay.
I intend to do to do it differently than everyone else? If you intended to just get in this business to make more money, well, you're a bit of an empty vessel, and you're not going to stand out until you start to stand for something.
Right.
You're a
Hmm.
surfer or a drifter in life, and if you're a surfer, you're just riding the waves, trying to scoop up the cash that comes along. And when things don't go your way, you're going to blame the wave. Well, that's a path, right? And you can certainly put lots of effort into doing that and make a good business and make lots of money. That's an option. But then there's the people who wanted to do this for a reason. They were technicians. They were military guys who had an aptitude for mechanical. They were um, people who had dealt with the insurance industry and wanted to see something different out of it, or the legal system and wanted to see justice served. There's so many different stories out there, and the stories that stand 600 feet above the competition are the ones that hold value. And a value only shows up when you're doing something that other people aren't willing to do, which means that you're paying for a consequence. You're taking sacrifice. You're subjecting yourself to self-inflicted punishment for the sake of somebody else. And that's when the customer looks at it and goes, these people are going the extra mile. And for the customer who is now looking for that relational interaction, you're going to sell them on the first visit or the early visits at a higher average ticket and a higher profit because they're listening to what you do. They care about what you have to say. You're showing up in a way that everyone else is just being transactional.
All right. So
So,
let me just back up though to because one of the things that we used to do, and I still do it with some companies, is if you're in a very commoditized industry, is look at the 10 things that all of your competitors do. Make
mhm,
sure you do them as well. Excuse me. And then find that 11th thing that's a
mhm,
difference maker. And that
yes.
just might be enough. But what it sounds like you were talking about was take those 10 things, wrap them up, crinkle them up, throw them away, and then come up with something altogether different, like a total different business model or
No,
paradigm
it,
approach. Is
I,
that, do I have
I,
that
I, I
right?
I say it facetiously to throw away the things that
I
don't
get it.
matter because
Right,
they're everyone else. But if you're not showing up at the baseline,
right.
then you've already lost the game,
Gotcha.
right? You're never going to win. So show up at the baseline and then do that one extra thing. And I love that you said one extra thing,
Right.
not 13 more things. One
Correct.
thing that you stand for.
Right.
And the reason why I speak about values is that beliefs are worthless, and that sounds awfully shocking to an awful lot of listeners right now. But let's think about this for a moment from a standpoint of physics. Niels Bohr, Nobel Prize winning physicist, said very often the opposite of a profound truth is an equal profound truth. It is equal, but it is opposite. Let me give you an
Hmm.
example. If I'm an accused murderer, I want mercy. If I'm the victim's family, I want justice.
Hmm.
But what happens when the victim's family murders the murderer? Now, who wants what?
They took revenge.
Right.
Hmm.
And they not only took revenge, but they now want mercy. Where they
Right.
wanted justice before, now they
Now
want
they
mercy
gotcha.
because those are bothly profound true
Hmm.
in the moment, depending on which side of the table you sit on. Well, if
Hmm.
you're looking at the contention between you and a client, the same thing holds true. I want to make all the money, and the client wants to spend the least amount of money, and they're both profoundly true, right? And where we
Right.
bridge the gap is value, right?
Yes.
What are the things that the customer is going to get empathetically, competently, and conveniently to justify the money that they spend? Value is a simple equation of them willing to give you their resources for what you have to exchange, and that their resources are worth less than your resources, whatever those might be it an air conditioner, an insurance, a new car, whatever the case might be. And that's their job as a consumer, right? I
So
respect it.
would you say that there's a common blind spot that's holding businesses or business owners or salespeople back from scaling the revenue? And is part of
Yes.
that is the blind spot not recognizing the value equation and what each
Not
party really
yes.
wants?
John, you just nailed it right on the head.
Okay.
It's not recognizing what value truly is and what they're willing to exchange for it. A customer's not going to give you more money unless you do something that's worth more money,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that could be as simple as instilling confidence through empathy and competence. It may just be that you deliver things faster, more conveniently, not just during the sale and during the installation or during the delivery or during the whatever, but before the sale, during the sale, and after the sale.
Sure.
What's,
Sure.
what's your warranty look like compared to everyone else's
Sure.
warranty? What does your return policy look like?
Sure. And so when you talk about friction as a major issue in sales and marketing, I mean, oftentimes I've learned from my mentor, Vern Harnish, who you probably know, he would
Hmm.
talk about making the customer experience frictionless and also dehassling your employees. So
Hmm.
removing friction there. Do you
Yeah.
think some of the biggest friction points are things like speed to market, time to deliver? I mean, what's your thoughts about?
Jeff Bezos, I think, said it the best. He
Hmm.
said, there's everyone asks what's going to be different in the next 10 years. And he says, the real question is what's going to stay the same?
Hmm.
And the things that are going to stay the same are that people are going to want low prices and they're going to want broad selection and they're going to want it now.
Right.
So when we recognize that people are going to remain people and that we're going to be influencing those people based off of what other people have recognized as the problem solver, like Amazon, Amazon has changed the expectation around customer service
Right.
for the better.
Hmm.
Does that put a burden on other companies who are well behind the eight ball when it comes to serving customers at the highest level?
Sure.
The answer is yes.
Hmm.
But Bezos was looking at it from perspective of this will all pay itself off when we work on the aggregate, the big picture, right? Where small business owners who have to take a return on the thing that was the only thing that made them revenue this month or week or day, um, they're looking at it and going, I can't afford to give that customer service. And that's why they can't afford to give that customer service.
Right.
So
That
there
makes
is a bit
sense.
of a chicken and an egg, a horse and a cart, and all of the other analogies that go along with what is the right thing to do. And the reality of it is the right thing to do is to do the right thing always and forever, and then
Yeah.
charge appropriately for it. And if your price is more than everyone else's, figure out how you can instill deeper value into the system, i.e., you get it there faster. That this is the whole point behind convenience stores, right? It's like
Right. Right.
they charge
I
you
charge
twice as
additional.
much for the loaf of
Right.
bread
It's
because
convenience. You
it's
don't.
convenient,
Right.
right?
Exactly. So,
So
yeah.
you can charge more, right?
So let's look at some practical advice for small businesses. And so if a small business wants to punch above its weight,
Hmm.
like what's a powerful marketing move they could make to do that? Maybe you have an
Well,
example or a
yeah,
case study, a success story.
so many, and it comes twofold. One is in what we say and how we say it.
Hmm.
When you're punching above your weight in advertising, That has nothing to do with your operation or, frankly, your sales department. What it has to do with is the feelings of the people you're talking to. So, to first and foremost punch above your weight, you have to say something that not only gets someone's attention, because getting attention is easy, but holds their interest
Sure.
until such time as they need your thing,
Hmm.
right? Because people don't hear your ad and go, well, I need to purchase that right now, right?
Right, right, right.
Now, there are some low level impulse buys that works with, but that's not what I'm referring to right now. I'm referring to the majority of everything else that needs to be purchased. Your car, your fridge, your insurance, car insurance, all of these different things, air conditioner, hot water tank, you name it. And at the end of the day, what we have to realize is that no one cares to hear about your hot water tank and your wonderful service. What they care to hear about is something about them that they can relate to, get a little laugh out of, or even be a little bit incensed or endeared to you, right? You need to make them feel. So first and foremost, the biggest problem that is in this that is in the arena of selling and home, businesses that are trying to grow and scale is doing something that gets noticed, but then holds their interest.
I think this is a really challenging area because companies struggle with brand messaging.
They sure do.
And, you
It's
know,
most often because they don't actually do brand messaging. What they do is they get a nice truck wrap or a beautiful logo on their website and their store. They write a bit of copy for their website and write some articles and
mhm,
think that they've done the job like
right,
Field of Dreams. They just assume that they're going to come.
right.
When in reality is we need to get out there into the marketplace and actually tell people that you matter, right? And you tell them you matter by telling them how they matter. The customer matters.
Yeah.
So when we bond and connect with customers, we have to do it on the mass. That's the only efficient way to drive and grow your business. Now, in the early days, you're just chasing leads, but eventually you get to a revenue position where you can just talk to some amount of people consistently all the time, whether it's 3,000 bucks a month or 5,000 bucks a month or $50,000 a month. There's absolutely a path forward where you can talk to somebody every week, 2 to 3 times a week, about why you matter and why they matter to you, and build an emotional bond through humor or tears or even anger to have them anchor your brand, just like Pavlov's dog when they hears that bell ring,
Hmm.
when the thing breaks or they need the thing, they're thinking about you. You're the bell, right? Your brand becomes the echoic retention anchor. And that takes time. And the time's going to be determined by precisely two things.
Hmm.
One is how long the purchase cycle is between the things that you buy. Is it a year? Is it 5 years? Is it whatever? Right? And the second thing that it's going to be determined by is that their guy let them down that they already have that's doing the thing.
Right,
Right?
right.
So those both have to happen. If you matter before they get to Google, you win.
All right. So we've covered some marketing and advertising myths. We covered a little bit why they struggle with the brand messaging. I think
Hmm.
I have some good insight into what you think are some outdated sales tactics based on the bio that we started with.
Indeed.
Um, is there a piece of unconventional wisdom that you swear by?
With relation to sales,
Sure. Or marketing.
with relation to well, either one. With relation to sales, let's live in that world for a minute. The unconventional wisdom of sales is that less is actually going to sell you more stuff.
Hmm.
Most people think that they have to have just something for everyone, and that the only way to make lots of money is to have all the things available, that broad selection, perceptually speaking, that you can be all things to all people. When in reality, when you get really good at what you do, really, really, really good at what you do, you're going to reduce the amount of inventory that you have. You're going to reduce the selection. You're going to curate your inventory, your warranties, your pricing, your payments to those prices. And when you curate your inventory, just like a beautiful display at an art gallery or a museum, you're going to take people on a journey. And that journey is going to drastically reduce the amount of time it takes to sell something because you made it easier for your sellers to sell and you made it easier for your buyers to buy. But that's the responsibility of the owner and leader of the company, not the salesperson who's trying to figure it out along the way. We just last week had a client where they're like, "Yeah, we had 17 different opportunities this week to sell a hot water tank, and it took us about half an hour to get all of those hot water tank packages put together to figure out what we were going to sell them, and we didn't sell any of them." Because it was like an hour by the time we finished just trying to get the whole presentation together and in front of the customer. I said, here's what we're going to do. And we lined up and I curated an inventory for them right there and then. Took me about an hour to do that with the client. They taught me what I needed to know to be able to solve that problem. And then we built that. And I said, this is the only thing that you're going to present in the next 17 offers.
Hmm.
And it's always going to be the same. It's always going to be this price. It's always going to be this, right? And they've agreed that these are the things, and we could absolutely do that. And we went from selling zero to selling 75% of the next 17 opportunities
That's great.
by a simple change
Very
in how
simple.
we approach things. Why? Because they were able to present it within 1 minute of the customer, determining what the customer's needs are, the equipment's needs, and the
Hmm.
situation or the environmental needs were,
Hmm.
and saying this is the right solution for that solution. Boom, here's your answer. And we actually gave the customer 5 choices, so
Right.
the customer got to shop and got to pick the one that was best for them. But most importantly, they actually sold something.
I'm trying to think if this is applicable to most businesses, many businesses, some, all. Uh,
Virtually every business needs to curate their inventory.
well, is this just the 80/20 principle and reduce down to some? I mean, if you go to Amazon or Uline or some catalog that's got like everything, and that's why you go there because everything under the sun, you know,
Hmm.
are they curating their inventory? They're no, they're or
Well,
Walmart, they're working on a different business model, aren't they?
they
With everything
are.
under one roof.
Amazon and it's perceptually under one roof. Yeah. So
Hmm.
Walmart has two different channels. They have the Walmart channel, then they have the aftermarket sellers that live within Walmart.
Of course.
And Amazon has the exact same infrastructure. So what they've done is created a Mall of America kind of model where you
Right.
show up and you can pick from whatever store you want to go through, depending on
Right.
how much time you want to take.
Right.
And that serves Amazon because they don't have to buy any inventory.
Right. But a
But
Costco has a tremendous amount of inventory on its floor. And
right.
it's everything from television to
Hmm.
Listerine to a pharmacy to eyeglasses to, you know,
But if you look at if and I love that you brought up Costco, Jonathan, because Costco has um, famously less choice
hmm.
than even Walmart, and Walmart is actually quite curated. And most companies, if you look at gosh, you brought up a point or a company earlier, and you said, is are they doing that on their site? And the answer is, yeah, they are doing it. Now, Amazon and Walmart are not, but you don't have the budget and the
Right.
infrastructure
Of
of
course.
Walmart and those. So, as a small business, we have to play a different game than the big boy game that's being played
Right.
from a giant that has spent the money and earned that presence to
Yep.
be able to do what they're doing. But the inventory is still like you even look at Uline. When you flip through that catalog, there isn't 68,000 different choices of plastic wrap. There's the two or three options of plastic wrap that you can choose from. They've already done the work for you, and you just pick from those three. And then from those three, there's maybe different bolt sizes or quantity volumes based on need. So, what are they really offering you? Very few
Very
things
got it.
in
Okay.
slightly different configurations. We call this mass customization.
Right. Right.
And in doing so, what we're doing is serving the needs of 80% of the population and not
Hmm.
being the right solution for 20, and that's okay,
Hmm. All right.
right?
Let's switch gears here.
Mm,
Some personal insights and fun questions. If you could give your younger self one piece of business advice, what would
mhm,
it be?
mm.
Tough one.
Um, First one would be less is more,
Okay. Got it.
and to focus in and specialize.
Good. Okay. Sounds like were you in your family business? I don't know what ages you were in your family business, but were you what I call a disruptive successor in your family business? And then it got sold.
Well, yes, I was. Yes, so black sheep, disruptive successor, bad fit.
Yeah.
Any of the things that feel as
Yeah.
though you're doing it wrong because
Yeah.
everyone else wanted to do it the same old way.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
What's your thought about family businesses in general? Do you have one?
Yeah, I think family businesses are good and bad. They are a breeding ground for bacteria,
Hmm.
and we have to recognize that. And I think that there's an opportunity for people who are of the mind of being entrepreneurial and ambitious. But I think it's really essential to go out and experience life outside of the family business to get a more holistic perspective, for you to serve your family business at the highest level.
Okay. Um, do you have a daily habit or routine that keeps you sharp?
Um, do I have a daily habit or routine that
You know,
keeps me
like
sharp?
Nova Scotia, like ice plunging,
Yes.
holding your breath like Wim Hof under an iceberg, and um, uh, or
I really, I really don't. My
okay,
routine
that's
is
fine.
fairly steady, but I don't ritualize these things. I do travel a lot, so I'm either
Okay,
at home or I'm in a bit of a disruptive space where I'm just kind of getting it together. But my routine stays pretty darn consistent from day to
okay,
day.
awesome.
Yeah.
What are some brands or companies, maybe ones you've already mentioned, that you really admire for how they market themselves and maybe why?
Apple always comes to the top of the
Of
list
course.
for how it's marketed because what Apple really understands is a couple of key things. The first key thing is that even to this day, they have 7% of their budget that is applied to marketing,
Hmm.
because they understand the importance of brand awareness, not just for the new customers, which are far and few between today, but holding the interest and caring for the existing customer to remind them that they made the right choice and that they continue to matter and that they continue to align their personal identity with the identity of the brand, which is that of a maverick, a rebel, a rastabout that is worth doing something at a premium level difference than the rest of the world. And that's a really important thing to recognize about companies that are looking to not just sustain, not just grow, but to remain relevant as the world changes around us and lots of noise gets thrown at you. The other thing that they really understand is the 12 languages of the mind. Now there's 12 ways that we've identified that the mind perceives information and communication and persuasion and influence. And when we recognize and understand those things, we're able to pull them apart and put them back together in a way that is more persuasive or less persuasive depending on your competency. And when we have pulled this apart, Apple consistently recognizes exactly what to do to hit the high notes, to be persuasive, to connect and bond with their clients, not just through a dopamine surge of anticipation, but an oxytocin balance of love, loyalty, bonding, and connection for
Mm,
long-term durability.
mm.
Both of those being the foundational chemicals. Now there's lots more complicated stuff to worry about. Let's get the basics right first.
Yeah. So I've often thought of Google as a competitor to Apple because I'm always been an Android guy and never owned really an Apple product.
Hmm.
Um, Very different, like an open architecture system versus their closed loop system.
Hmm.
And I mean, they're very different. Do you admire Google or companies that are in that same space? Because it's very
Uh,
different
you
than
know,
Apple.
from a marketing standpoint, um, Google does not do anything that is overly admirable.
Right.
From an operational standpoint, Google
Genius.
does an awful lot of really smart things.
Yeah.
And we have to, step back and reflect on the four different types of business models that are possible in this universe. The first being custom tailored solutions. That's my business
Right.
of Wizard of Ads, and tailoring a high touch solution for each client that is going to be deeply unique in its own nature. Then there's the product dominant or product unique solutions like Apple, somewhat like Google,
Hmm.
right? Where they are distinctly picking a lane and saying, no, we're going to be the open system. We're going to be the alternative to Apple to pick up the outliers that don't like it. Now, Google will probably capture somewhere in the realm of a 30% overarching um, piece of the 70-30 split. Apple's going to pick up the majority. They're going to pick up the majority because Apple spoke to identity, where Google spoke to the alternative to Apple,
Right.
right?
Right.
So product distinct, right? Now, Apple is not the most innovative company.
Hmm.
It
Right.
never has been. It never will be. But it is the one that gets noticed for showing up and changing the dynamic of how we perceive ourselves interfacing with this piece of equipment,
Yeah.
right? So product unique or product distinct. Then we move up into operational excellence. This is where the majority of companies that can scale
Hmm.
scale
Hmm.
and do their job and stand 600 feet above the competition. They're the market leaders. They're the ones they're the best of the best, and the things that we talk about a lot. Um, Operational excellence is about specifically and intentionally limiting selection and working with high levels of efficiency in conjunction with a more easier, more pleasant, more convenient, more exclusive, more better solution
Right.
um, that people are just willing to consume. And then lastly is the distribution dominant business model, right? Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser. These are the companies that you can't get a different beer at the baseball stadium. They own that beer, right? So they own it. They win. So they win.
Yep.
They buy the shelf space. You can't get something else anywhere else. Like they own that space, and they built those models many years ago and invested in the national infrastructure to be distribution dominant. Very difficult, very expensive, and almost always not the best product. Almost 100% in every way,
Right.
not the
Right.
best product,
Right.
right?
Well, that's good. Good. You laid out the four models for us. We need to wrap up. So, Ryan Chute, Wizard of Ads, is that where they find you?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Ryan Chute at wizardads.com is my email address. You can certainly see me on my website at ryanchute.com, and my socials, Wizard Ryan Chute, across all channels. You'll find me there.
Sounds good. Ryan, thanks for being on the show. Folks, you know the drill. If you got some value from this, share this with others and give us a good rating on your podcast listening application of choice. And stay tuned for future episodes of the Disruptive Successor Show. This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session. Thank you for joining us on the Disruptive Successor Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, review, and share with a friend who would benefit from the message. If you're interested in picking up a copy of my book, Disruptive Successor, go to disruptivesuccessor.com.